Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. Should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? Where, I actually thought my Joy-Con was broken. Just before not just before I started recording. It was actually a bit ago. I was getting everything set up and then I didn't record for about 2 hours or something. Okay, maybe not 2 hours, but a little bit. Because my pink Joy-Con just wasn't working. I don't know if it was in yesterday's episode, but in an episode recently, I was trying to back out of a camera and it just wouldn't register anything. I think my Joy-Con might be slightly dying. Or something. It is pretty old. The Switch must be nearly a decade old or something now. Is that right? Hold on. Let's check my internal clock as we say good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:27 p.m. on Friday, June 30th, 2023. Last day of June. Tomorrow's July. You know what's happening on the 1st of July? Nothing really. That I know of. I don't know. Not much really happens in July. I suppose it's just kind of a summer months, isn't it? What was I going to look up? Nintendo Switch release date. 2017. Okay, 6 years. Okay, I'm way off. It's not nearly, not even close to a decade yet. But for some reason, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Entire decade, more or less. But yeah, I don't know what to talk about today necessarily. End of June, 30th of June. So for some reason, always in my mind, 30th of June and 15th of June feel like significant dates. It feels like something happens on those days, but nothing I can think of actually happens on these days. I mean, I had a friend who had a birthday on 15th of June back in primary school, but you might be like, why do you remember that? And the answer is, I don't know. I just do. I actually think I might remember a lot of my friends' primary school birthdays, now I think about it. So I think one was 2nd of April, one was 4th of April. I don't know why I remember those necessarily. I think one of them was, I don't remember exactly, sometime in October. I could not even hazard a guess, I was trying to sort of feel it out, be what date sounds right, and I was 21st of October sounds kind of okay-ish, but, it also does not sound completely accurate. But it does mean that I've got a calendar over there which I can flip on over from June to July, Remember not decorative calendars, what are they called, novelty calendars or whatever? And do people still use calendars anymore? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't really. I use a calendar app on my phone, I suppose, which, might be the most sort of ooh, what you use to make fun of the younger generation, I suppose, of how technologically dependent people can be. But yeah, I mean, I use the app on my phone to be yo, this is how I'm going to figure out what's going on and keep track of what's going on, because it just works, a bit better. It's a lot less manual work. You just be oh, this time, this date, boom, bada bing, bada boom, I'm done. That's all I have to do. Which, you might find easy, you might find difficult, depending, I suppose, on exactly how your arrangement goes. But novelty calendars, I mean, it's not something I was particularly, loved or something when I was younger. I just have strong memories, I suppose. There was this stall, or no, it was a shop, I think, in a shopping centre which I used to go to when I was younger. It was a very small shop. It was have as novelty card shops or something in shopping centres. They're very narrow. They're a few meters wide or something, and then maybe twice as long backwards or something. So they're not huge by any stretch of your imagination, because I suppose you kind of know what you're getting, I suppose, if you walk into a novelty calendar shop and you're hey, I want a novelty calendar. It's whoa, crazy. It's wall-to-wall novelty calendars, and it's also a thing where calendars and cards, I suppose, are both quite small, thin things, so they're quite easy to sort of stack on top of each other or whatever. I don't know, I'm just sort of throwing it out there. Or maybe, novelty calendar shops don't really need that much space, because who's really buying all that many novelty calendars? Not many people I know of, but that might be up to you. But I distinctly remember this stall, I keep calling it a stall, a store, which sold these novelty calendars, which, I don't know, because it wasn't ever my first novelty calendar. I had a novelty calendar before. I cannot remember for the life of me what it was. Because we definitely had a few novelty calendars, and some of them were specific, because I remember back in primary school, we had a thing where we had a calendar basically of birthdays, where it was all of the people in the year, including the teachers or whatever, were gathered by their birth month, and in that birth month they would be hey, we're all gonna take a picture, and this is gonna be we're going to take a picture, and this is within this picture is going to be everyone whose birth month this is, and it's all like themed by certain things. And then they made it into like a school calendar, well, just like a normal calendar, and they gave it out to all the families whose kids went to that school. And honestly, it was kind of cool. I remember the day. I'm trying to remember what each month was. I don't remember what January was based on, and I think February was based on Valentine's Day, so everyone like made like pink and red hearts or something. And I feel like I sort of vaguely remember where people were, because we had like this outdoor like theatre area, which you might be like, what? That sounds like the most extravagant thing. Did you go to like a private primary school? I didn't. And the theatre area wasn't really a theatre area. It was more like what are they called? Not like a gazebo, not like a pergola, but or maybe it is called a pergola. You know, the things like the wooden sort of slats grid thing, which has like the vines around it. It was basically one of those, and it had like wooden. It did to be fair have like a wooden stands, you know, like audience stands, which ironically you sit on. So I don't know why they're called that. Which you could theoretically put performances on. I only ever remember using it once for a performance, but that's a story for another time. But I feel like they were there, and it was Valentine's Day, and they all had like pink and red hearts printed out, and that was it. I cannot remember what March was. I think March might have been Easter. That sounds right, but I don't remember what the framing was at all. April, I remember, was St. George's Day, which is a British holiday, which is not even really a holiday because no one really celebrates it as far as I know. It's just like the day where the 16th or something, or April or something, is when St. George, the patron saint of England, was supposedly born or something. I don't really know his story. He slew a dragon, I think, which I don't really know like the mythos of it, but something like that. The only story of a saint I know, I can't remember which saint it is, but it was someone who was a sheep thief and got branded a sheep thief with ST on their head, and then they walked like a path of redemption, and then eventually someone was like, hey, what does that ST mean on your head? And then like someone else was like, oh, it must mean saint because that's how great they are, or something like that. Is that a thing? Did I just make it up? I'm gonna Google it, hold on. ST sheep thief saint. Sheep thief or saint, the story told of two brothers. But which saint is it? Maybe it wasn't an actual saint. Maybe it was just like a person. It's just a random dude. William and Christopher. Hold on, we're going to scroll to the end. Saint Will. Oh, okay, there you go. That's the story of Saint Will, which I still remember from my primary school days. Anyway, so April, they were just like outside the back school gate. No, the front school gate, actually. I always think it's the back school gate because I always used to enter the school through the back school gate, but it was actually, you know, the back school gate, from my perspective, was actually the front school gate. So, you know, it's confusing, if anything. I don't really know what I was going with this, to be honest, but something I was gonna say, but I don't remember anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying this with a cadence of like a 2000s like clean rap song or something. May, I don't remember what May was. June, it must have been like summer or something, but I generally don't remember like June, July, August. It's all the same, but they're all like summer holidays probably, because that's the only thing which is really associated with them in the UK. There might have been things like June is Father's Day, I think. July, does anything happen in July? July must have been holidays. Anyway, September I remember was school start, like the start of your academic year was our theme. So we were all in the library and we all brought in like glasses. I already wore glasses, so you know, tick right there. And we brought in like feather quills and stuff and like clipboards, and we all were pretending to write on things. And I remember we had a conversation for some reason about the SATs, which if you don't know is basically the academic tests you need to take in UK from primary school to go in. No, yeah, wait, to go from primary school to secondary school? That can't be right. Why would I have taken the SATs? Because I was definitely in like year 3 or something, or maybe I was like year 5. I'm thinking about it. Hold on. I'm trying to sort out the timeline in my head. Maybe it was SATs, and the year 6s already done the SATs, and we were just like practicing for SATs. And I remember there was like this girl in year 6 who did it, and I don't know, we were like trying to outbrag each other about how well we did on the SATs or something. Which is, you know, obviously very, I'm not going to say it's pathetic, because we were like 10, like what you're a 10-year-old, well, of course you're going to like brag about these random things. But it's just very funny, I suppose, looking back about how inconsequential they are, to be honest. well, at least for me personally, maybe it would be quite consequential for some people's lives, but certainly not mine. But I remember that. And I remember in the final photo, you can barely see me. You can just like see the top half of my head peeking out from the back, because for some reason I was sitting at the back. I don't know if it was necessarily by choice or whatever, because it wasn't arranged by height or anything, I don't think. But it was just like I was put in the back or whatever. And you can only just see the top half of my head, just slightly poking out of the actual, out of the person in front of me. So I'm just like, I'm barely even in this photo. Anyway, October, I don't remember. I think October wasn't actually Halloween. I think it was harvest season or something, because they thought that some younger kids might find Halloween too spooky or something. Possible. I don't really know. I ain't going to judge, but that may be true, that may not be true, as things may go. Yeah, I don't really know what else I was going to say about this. Oh, no, you're closed. Well, sorry, I mean, you're going to have to suffer for yet another day where you don't get any medicine. October, November, December, I don't really know. No, December was definitely winter time. No, December must have been Christmas. So January must have been New Year's. I'm getting really confused about the timelines in my head of what this was. One of them was winter time, and they were all like dressed up in woolen hats and scarves and things. Oh my word, I did not even know you could jump that. Which, you know, must have been pretty hot, because we were like in the summer, or near the summer, I think, where we did that photo shoot. So there must have been absolutely boiling hot. And I remember there was a final page at the end where it was just like all the people who were like sick that day or missed out because they were doing something, and they were all like in arm casts and had bandages wrapped around them to be like, these are the people who couldn't make it into the calendar. And then even still, there were some people who missed both shots. So then I still remember they were like photoshopped, quote, into... oh no, we got trapped into the camera, we're doomed. They were photoshopped into the actual photo itself. And I remember that happened in the September photo. There were two like kids from like kindergarten or something. Kindergarten? What am I, American? Nursery, who were like photoshopped back into the photo because they just missed all the days, I suppose, that the photo shoots were happening in. And I remember it just looks, in retrospect, really bad. But, you know, bless the teachers. Obviously, I don't think any of them were probably like trained in using Photoshop. I don't even know if Photoshop was much of a thing back then. I mean, it was technically, but there's no way any of the teachers had access to Photoshop. They probably just used like something slightly above Paint, I'd imagine. But it genuinely looks very funny. Like I don't even know how I'd feel, I suppose, if I was like the kid, or maybe the parent looking at it being like, what? Yeah, anyway, that was a novelty calendar we had when we were younger. But there was another one I had. I can't remember. It must have been something like me and my sister were just like talking to my, not just like chatting with my parents, but like being like, oh, come on, Mum, Dad, please, can we have one of these calendars or something? And they were like, no, like, why would you want just like this random calendar? We were like, please, it's the only thing I've ever wanted. And they were like, fine. And then like they bought it for us for Christmas or something, and we were like, woo! I genuinely don't remember what mine is. I feel like I had Hamtaro one at some point. I don't know if I'm making this up, but I feel like that might have been true. I'm searching my head. I also feel like I might have had like a dog one or something. I genuinely, it's really hard to remember. But I remember I kept it for ages because, you know, I was very much like someone who didn't like to throw things away when I was younger, because I was like, then the calendar would feel bad. And I was like, I don't want to make a calendar feel bad. And, you know, it's been without me for an entire year. It'd be terrible just to throw it away like now. Yeah, I don't really know where I was going with this. I also remember another story about a novelty calendar, which is so incredibly random, but it was like on Cartoon Network or something like that. You could print out like a calendar. Like it was themed off after like one of the shows. I think it was like Dexter's Laboratory. No, I think it was a different one for each day, except for I didn't remember. I didn't like understand at the time what I was doing, like what I was printing out. Oh, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to change out my hat. I didn't really understand what I was printing out. I just remember, like, you know, I always went on the Cartoon Network website when I was younger, and it was just like, oh, print out, you know, your 2008 calendar or something here. And I remember I printed it out, and being like, whoa, what? It's not even this year. You know, I can't use this calendar, and I threw it away because I was just like, I don't know what to do with it. And I proceeded not to print out any of the other months. So I printed out January. It was just like Dexter's Laboratory or something, and it was just like the next year. And of course, me not realizing the next year was probably about to happen in like a few months anyway. That's, you know, it's a bit pointless printing out a calendar for this year, seeing as the calendar has probably already happened. I just like threw it away, or I like shoved it into my chest of drawers, which just housed an absolutely ridiculous amount of things which I didn't know what to do with. So yeah, that was basically it. From what I recall. I don't really know where I'm going with this, to be honest. That's kind of it. What am I saying? I'm trying to think of another calendar like story I have, but I really don't have one. I mean, to be fair, I don't really use physical calendars anymore. Like, even when I had a physical calendar, I didn't think I used it. I remember though, actually, one time. Hold on. I do have another story, which is all my stories are very unremarkable, I must say. But you know, here you are listening to them. So, what does that say about you? No. What I was going to say was the fact that I remember it was in primary school, and then it was during like the morning assembly or like the morning whatever. It's basically like the equivalent of like a stand-up, I suppose, for like kids, where, you know, we're all just like there in the morning waiting for everyone to come in, and then it's like any other news from the school that day is, you know, spoken to us in these 10 minutes in the morning assembly or whatever. Actually, it wasn't even an assembly because it was in the classroom when I think about it. So I don't know, registration period, and like the teacher asked, hey, does anyone know what special event is happening today? And then I was like, I don't know, but I do remember looking at my calendar. There was something called Burns Night on the calendar. But I didn't know what Burns Night was. I just remember it said Burns Night bracket Scotland. And then I remember someone else who was my friend put his hand up, or, you know, was like, yeah, today's Burns Night in Scotland or something. And the teacher was like, wow, I'm very impressed. You know, insert his name here. Let's call him like Joe Blogs. I'm very impressed, Joe. You know, you have very good knowledge. And I remember at the time, you know, because classic me being like, I had to be the one to know everything, you know, overachiever me being like, I need that answer as well. I didn't say that out loud, but I remember just talking to my friend, being like, I saw that as well on my calendar today, and he just nodded. That's all I remember. It was so harsh, not harsh, but it was so just like dismissive. He just nodded and was like, all right. It's really funny looking back at it, of like how invested I suppose I was, being like, I read my calendar too. I thought it was really cool where it was like a Burns Night, but I didn't know what Burns Night was. Anyway, that's it. That's the rest of that story. Excuse me, Amelia, can you get out of the way, please? I said very rudely and aggressively. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I did not mean to lie on this. Excuse me. Yeah. I don't really know. I don't have the rest of the story. Anyway, novelty calendars, I suppose. I wish I remembered what my novelty calendar was when I was younger. I remember really liking it because I kept it. I swear I had a Hamtaro one when I was younger, though. I don't know if I'm just making it up. Anyway, a couple of years ago, I had like a Disney one back from when I came from Japan. So there you go, there's something. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode up here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.